In this video, we are going to be talking about fractions and decimals. In particular, my focus on this video is for people who have access to a calculator to do work with fractions, do work with decimals using their calculator, but I want to kind of go over and do a quick review on the structure of these numbers because it is always helpful to understand what's going on with the number, even if you're leaning on your calculator as a tool to help you. So we'll start with fractions. Alright, let's start with the fraction 3/4. So where I want to start is talking about what these numbers mean. So this bottom number is going to tell us, we usually say it's like how many pieces are in a whole, but I like to think of it's telling us what these are, or what kind of pieces we're dealing with in terms of the whole. And so then the top number is telling us how many of those pieces we have. We usually call the mathy word for the top number is the numerator, and the mathy word for the bottom number is the denominator. So you can think that the top number is enumerating how many pieces we have. The denominator, the bottom number, is telling us what denomination those pieces are. So in this case, I have 3 things that are 1/4 of a whole. I always like to talk about pizza when talking about fractions. So there's my pizza. My pizza is cut into sizes so that we have 4 in a whole, assuming a perfect cut and they're the perfect size. We're going to use our imagination on that. And then we have 3 of those pieces. So I have that piece, I have this piece, and I have this piece. I don't have the 4th piece. If I did, I would have 4 of 4, then that would equal a total of 1. So that's the idea of what a fraction communicates to us. It's telling us how many we have and what size of the whole are the pieces that we have. Alright, now let's say we have 2/4. So again, thinking in terms of my pizza, you could probably visualize that in your head. You have a pizza, it's cut into 4 big giant, New York style pizza slices, and you have 2 of them. So visually you can see that is going to be the same as saying, well, you have half the pizza. It's cut into 4ths. So mathematically how we show that is if I have 2/4, then both the top and the bottom, both the numerator and the denominator, are divisible by 2. And so I can go ahead and do that. I can divide the top by 2, divide the bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and so that's how we reduce fractions, is we figure out how much of the exact same number we can divide out of the top and we can divide out of the bottom. And these 2 fractions here, so 2/4 and 1/2, we say are equivalent fractions. They're not exactly the same thing, because 1/2 is saying I have I have a pizza cut into 2 giant slices and I have 1 of those. And 2/4 is saying I have a pizza, it's cut into 4 slices and I have 2 of those. In the end, we have the same amount of pieces, same amount of pizza, it's just divided up differently. It's like saying I have 2 dimes, or I have a nickel. I can't get it said right. I have 2 nickels or 1 dime. I have the same amount of money, but different denominations making up what's in my pocket. So because of that, we say they're equivalent fractions, meaning they are of the same value, but in reality they may not be the same shape or size of objects that we're dealing with. The moral of the story there is if you want to reduce fractions, again, if you're using a calculator that handles fractions, you could probably just punch the number in and punch it in as a fraction and hit equals, and your calculator will reduce that down for you. It's a great little tool, but it's good to know what that machine is doing for you. And so what it's doing is dividing the same number out of the top and the bottom. And if you have something like 2/4, it's really in some ways faster to just do the reduction yourself than to take the time to pound it out on your calculator a lot of times. So that's why, one of the reasons why it's just good to know what's going on, because sometimes what feels like magic isn't really once you get behind the scenes on what's going on with the numbers.